Hello, all. I want to talk about rental property calculator. And the way as you all know, this is where I go. Oops, I put Cengage, I'm sorry. I go to calculator, and here I come here, I click on financial calculator and rental property calculator. On this one is the default one. I want to explain. Please, in your case, try to change the numbers. Imagine you have some money, you want to invest, buy a rental property, and you want to rent it out. And you want to know how much your expenses are and how much money you can make. And of course, this is a hypothetical example. And it shouldn't necessarily, you shouldn't take it as the way it shows, and I'll explain and see what it is. But I want you, when you do that, please change the numbers and also write an explanation with what you are trying to say and what you are trying to achieve. Here, my explanation, which I can go and type on, on the discussion board. Here is my example. I am going to buy a house for $200,000, and I'm going to use a loan, and I am putting 20% down payment. 20% means 20% of 200,000 means $40,000. I am putting down payment, and then the bank is charging me 6%, and the loan is for 30 years, and I have to pay $6,000 of closing costs, and assuming that this house doesn't need any repair. I am hoping and I think I am going to be able to rent it out for $2,000 a month, and I am going to increase my rent 3% every year. And then I don't have any other monthly income. Imagine that this, for example, apartment that I am buying has an extra parking that I can rent it out to other tenants, Therefore, no, it doesn't have an extra parking. That's why it is zero. Vacancy rate means 5%. Think about it as maybe 5% of the year it is vacant, because sometimes you need to look for new tenants. Therefore, it is the assumption that you'd say 5% of the year, 5 times 365, maybe around 20 days. You are assuming that every year it might, stay in the market 20 days until you find a new, tenant. And management fee is that you don't have any. Sometimes people buy a rental property and ask a real estate agency to manage it for you. But in this case, you want to manage it yourself. Then you come here and what your expenses are. One expense you have is $3,000, and you expect that the county is going to increase your taxes by 3%. And your insurance is annually at $1,200. When it is at $1,200, your assumption is $100 a month. Your insurance will go up. There is no home association fee. And then usually apartments have, maybe the houses, something usually they don't have unless they are in a community. And you are assuming every year you spend $2,000 for the maintenance and other costs. And these are going to go up every year by 3%. And when you want to sell it, you do not know for now and the selling price, but you are expecting the house to appreciate, every year the price of the house hopefully will go up by 3%. And you want to keep the house for 20 years, and you are hoping to sell the house. And when you are selling it, you have to list it to give it to an, real estate agent, and there might be other, issues, costs are associated. But let's not forget, if it is a rental property, you sell it. Let's not forget that you have to pay taxes on it as well. Therefore, these are the things you will do. And think about yourself. Think about, you want to have your own property, you want to, buy a rental property and see if you rent it out and you can make some money. But as I told you, this example looks very encouraging, and it shows that it is a great deal you can make. And I'll tell you why. Calculate. When it calculates, it tells us exactly what is happening here, but I don't want to be encouraged by these numbers. And right away, if you have some money, say, oh, you are going to, to go and buy a rental property, and let's see what they are. IRR, this is, an internal rate of return. They say that that's the number where it makes the net present value to zero. That's a kind of, think about it as a return you are expecting, 18%. This is the way to look at it. And then a total profit when sold. After 20 years, when you sell it, you are going to make $402,000, hopefully, profit. And cash on cash return, there is an explanation at the bottom that will tell you what cash on cash return is. And then here it depends on how much cash annually you put and how much cash you get. And capitalization fee, I asked ChatGPT about what these are as well, capitalization rate. And then here you go, I go to ChatGPT and I say, what is a capitalization rate in real estate? Here we go. Oops. And then capitalization rate, and it gives you capitalization rate, NOI, rate of return, is net operating income. We will talk about it. They're divided by property value, Therefore, any of these terms you do not know, you can easily come to here. It is, in the case, it has calculated, it knows that the house is, is $200,000, and then net operating income, which is $1,600, $16,000 annually, and that's where 8.05 comes in. Therefore, I want you to look at those numbers. If you do not know, you may just use, ChatGPT, it will tell you. Therefore, here, when you rent it out based on estimate, you will get $612,000 in rent, but you have a mortgage payment of $230,000. And then you have other expenses like taxes, insurance, and all of them. And net operating income, you will have a net operating income of $432,000. Then you come here and we look at our monthly income. Didn't we say that you are going to rent it out for $2,000 annually? You get $24,000, and your mortgage pay when you get a loan. We said that $200,000. You put 40% down. That's $160,000. You are borrowing at 6%. The bank will tell you that your monthly payment is around $959 a month for 30 years, and this is what you pay annually. Vacancy rate, 5%, that is, out of your pocket, this is what you are not going to get, and therefore, we come here, property taxes, $250 a month and $3,000 a year, insurance, maintenance costs, and therefore your cash flow, you are always like to see, you have hopefully a positive cash flow. If it is negative, you want to make sure you have some reserve money in the bank that you cover your cash flow. What does it mean is that you will get $2,000 cash coming in, but you have all of these, the rest of these are cash going out. At the end of the month, this is the cash that comes, positively in your account. Therefore, your hope is that to have a positive cash flow in year one. It's okay if you don't have positive cash flow in year one, but you have to make sure that if you have a negative, you have a backup money in the bank, Therefore, that's something. This is the annual, and this is net operating income. Where does this net operating NOI come from? You take this $2,000, forget about this mortgage, you subtract the rest of these numbers, $100, $250, all of these from 2,000, that is called net operating income. And of course, out of this net operating income, you have to pay $959 to the bank, and that's where this number comes from. And therefore, in annually, it will be like this. And as you see here, it will show you the expenses that you have. Very nice, chart and very nice, graph. And we come here. And we will again look at here your annual income of 22,000. Your mortgage is 11,000, expenses and all of these in the first year. Your rate of return, IR internal is, is negative 21.8, 58. But as time goes by, it will increase, and hopefully, you will at the end, you will make, a good money on rental property. Therefore, after you do that, I want you to try to put your new numbers on the discussion board and have some explanation. Suppose if you are going to have, this might be too much, you might say you are going to have rent 100, purchase a house for 100,000. Maybe in that case, your rental property, they won't rent it from you for more than 1,000. Down payment, you might say, usually rental properties want 20%. The banks usually do not lend you money, for the rental property unless you come up with a, good down payment. 10% is usually for your, personal house that you try to buy. And these days, the banks are, are charging a little bit more, maybe 6.8, 6.9. And closing cost, of course, would be less when it is the price. And 3, but these numbers seem reasonable. Property taxes maybe 1,500, but this increase, annual increase, which is fine, then your house has to go up by, if it is going up for 3%, and you want to sell the house after, 20 years, and your closing cost most likely will be, whatever, 5%, 8% would be reasonable, Therefore, you do the calculation and try to put this screenshot, copy this one, put it on the discussion board, and put the first screen also, the one that we had in here, and put a rental property calculator and put this one as well, and have some explanations, that what it is. And I strongly recommend read these and to understand what they are, because you never know that you might end up buying a real, personal property. And then this is one, these are some investment tools. But anyhow, we want you to be familiar with these videos, and these are great. This calculator is great for you all to see how it works.